Welcome back. The Steam Autumn sale is live right now until October 6th, and it's packed with a ton of discounts, but with so many games to choose from, it's hard to know what to pick. In this video, I'll provide 10 amazing games that are all over 50% off or more. I'll skip some of the bigger titles like Hogwarts Legacy and Cyberpunk and hopefully highlight some games you may not have seen or have been on the fence about. So grab a drink and let's dive in. With Outer Worlds 2 coming out in less than a month, now is a great time to jump into the original. If you've ever wondered what Fallout New Vegas might look like in space, The Outer Worlds is basically Obsidian answering that exact question.
I detect an elevated heart rate, indicating dishonesty. Please prepare yourself for lethal deterrence.
This is a first-person sci-fi RPG set in a hyper-corporate galaxy where every planet is basically owned by a brand. You play as a customizable character who wakes up from cryo-sleep and immediately gets dragged into a mess of shady CEOs, space cowboys, and ethically questionable decisions. The combat is a mix of real-time shooting and abilities, with a tactical time dilation. Think VATS, but less stop and plan and more slow time and panic slightly more strategically. You can build your character in a bunch of directions. Want to go full stealth, smooth talking sociopath, or just shoot everything in the face? All options are totally viable. One of the best parts of the game is the writing. The dialogue is sharp, funny, and surprisingly dark. Your companions are memorable and come with their own little side stories and personalities. It's not the biggest RPG in terms of scope, but it's super replayable and respects your time, which is rare these days. If you're into choice-driven games with a satirical edge, this one's worth looking into, especially at a 75% discount. Fable throws you into a medieval fantasy land of Albion, where you start as a wide-eyed kid whose village is, you guessed it, burned down. Fast forward, and you're a hero in training choosing between noble deeds or evil ones, like kicking chickens. The choice is yours, really. The game tracks your morality in real time. Do enough bad stuff and your character literally starts to look like a demon. Combat is real time and super approachable. Melee, ranged, and magic all blend together pretty smoothly. You can focus on swordplay, snipe enemies with a bow, or just spam lightning until everything is crispy. It's not super deep, but it is satisfying, and the over-the-top animations make it feel extra punchy. Fable Anniversary is a remastered version of the original Fable, with updated graphics, lighting, and textures. It still looks a bit old school, but in a charming Xbox nostalgia kind of way. The real hook here is the world and its weird sense of humor. Albion is full of quirky NPCs, ridiculous side quests, and a narrator who sounds like he should be reading bedtime stories. If you missed it the first time around or just want to relive one of the OG choice-based RPGs with a fresh coat of paint, now's a great time to jump in. If you finished Baldur's Gate 3 and still have not found a game that quite scratches that itch, then I invite you to check out Divinity Original Sin 2.
You can trust me. I've got this under control.
This is a turn-based tactical RPG set in a high fantasy world, where magic is dangerous, gods are weird, and nearly everyone has a tragic backstory. Combat is where the game shines. It's all turn-based and deeply strategic, with a heavy emphasis on environmental effects. Oil catches fire, poison clouds explode, water conducts electricity, accidentally blowing yourself up is just part of the learning curve. It's basically chess if every piece could cast fireballs or turn each other into chickens. You can play solo, with companions, or co-op with up to 3 friends, which turns the game into an improv comedy of tactical disasters and moral debates. The writing is excellent, the world is reactive, and nearly every quest can be solved in multiple ways, through persuasion, murder, sneaking, or just teleporting someone off a cliff. The character creation is insanely deep. You can pick one of several origin characters, each with their own storyline, or create your own. And yes, you can play as an undead skeleton who wears a bucket as a helmet to avoid scaring townsfolk. This is that kind of game. It's long, it's rich with detail, and it absolutely rewards creative thinking. If you like turn-based combat, party-based RPGs, or just games that respect your brain, Divinity Original Sin 2 is a great pick. Bakeru has become one of my favorite action platformers. You play as Bakeru, a tanuki, who finds himself in a wild situation. Evil spirits, corrupted festival troops, and a mysterious oracle trying to pull off this bizarre festival takeover across all 47 Japanese prefectures. The game is very approachable. Simple controls, combo light, not super punishing. Bakeru has his taiko, a drum, as his main weapon of choice. What really spices things up is Bakeru's ability to transform into various heroes and use their powers for a limited time. That adds variety to how you tackle stages. There are also stages that change things up. Racing levels, aerial dogfights, giant mech combat, and more, which helps keep the pacing fresh throughout your entire playthrough. One of my favorite aspects of the game is in each level you will find these little guys who will share random tidbits and facts. Most come with a serious dose of Japanese folklore charm, some are just informative. I played this game start to finish on my Steam Deck and it ran great the entire time, and this game is surprisingly long, making it absolutely worth the $20 discounted price. If you're in the mood for something relaxing but still fun, something with style, folklore, and a playful adventure, Bakeru is great. Next up is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Think Borderlands, but you dragged all the guns into a fantasy tabletop RPG, and Tiny Tina is the dungeon master who occasionally forgets the script. It's wild, it's goofy, but it works.
Thank you for saving my peasant-ass stranger. How can I ever repay you?
As much as it kills me to refuse payment, I'm afraid I'm on an urgent quest to prevent the return of the Dragon Lord.
You start by creating your own hero, picking from 6 different fantasy-style classes: Spore Warden, Berserker, Graveborn, etc., each with their own special flavor and abilities. Later on, you get to mix more than one class for added combo potential. The gunplay feels familiar if you've played other Borderlands games. Tons of varied weapons, satisfying feel, neat stat differences, but there are some fun new twists. Melee gets a boost. Some melee weapons are slow and powerful, others fast and more tactical. There's more nuance here than just shoot until empty. The randomness loot explosion is real. Gear, spells, shields, trinkets, etc. You'll constantly find new gear that changes up how you play. One of the highlights is the setting and tone. It leans fully into fantasy tropes, with dragons, skeletons, mushrooms, trolls, and a big overworld you traverse, with random encounters, shrines, camps, etc. Tina's narration, DM-style breaks add a layer of whimsy, meta-humor, and chaos. If you like Borderlands loot-and-shoot action but want a fantasy skin, weird spells, and a less grim vibe, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is an amazing pick, especially at 80% off. Great for playing solo or messing around with friends, and it's one of the more enjoyable chaotic shooters out there right now. Next up is Greedfall. If colonial history, political intrigue, and magic beasts had a weird love child, this game would be it. You play as D. Sarday, a noble from the merchant congregation who travels to a mysterious monster-haunted island called Tir-Fredi, hoping to find a cure for a deadly plague called the Malachor. But of course, once you arrive, things do not go as planned. Factions, natives, colonizers, supernatural forces all tangle together. The combat feels a bit like a party-based Witcher 3. It's real-time combat with the option to pause and plan when things get rough. Great for folks who like reacting and also thinking ahead. You've got melee, ranged, magic, traps, even bombs. Want to be a one-hand sword fighter with pistols? Go for it. Want to cast spells from afar? That works too. Outside of combat, you will engage in dialogue with consequences, stealth, disguises, skill checks, and so on. If you like RPGs that give you choices, and not just in dialogue but in how you play, and enjoy exploring a world with compelling characters, Greedfall is a great pick. Final Fantasy XII is a fantastic entry in the franchise and one of my favorites. You play as Vaughn, a street rat who wants to be a sky pirate, but don't worry, the real story revolves around empires clashing, royalty on the run, and enough political backstabbing to make C-SPAN seem spicy. The world of Ivalice is one of the most fleshed out in Final Fantasy, and it shows. Combat is where the game really stands out. It's not turn-based, it uses the Gambit system, which basically lets you program your party's AI behavior. Like, if an enemy is weak to ice attacks, then you can set your party members to automatically cast ice spells. It's part strategy, part automation, and once you get it going, battles start to feel like this smooth, well-oiled machine, until you forget to account for status effects and watch everyone die in slow motion. The Zodiac Age version revamps a lot of the original systems. It adds a job license system so you can assign specific roles like Knight, Black Mage, Pugilist, etc. to each character. Graphics have been cleaned up from its PlayStation 2 counterpart. Sharp HD visuals, smoother frame rates, and a remastered soundtrack with the option to switch back to the original. And most importantly, there is a 2 and 4 times speed mode. I recommend Final Fantasy XII to anyone who enjoys deep, tactical combat that rewards prep and clever setups. A mature, politically driven story that's more Game of Thrones than your usual chosen hero saves the world fare. Gorgeous environments, an epic soundtrack, and a strong sense of world building that still holds up today. Admittedly, this one is not over half off, but it was a good clickbait title. Gunfire Reborn is a roguelike Borderlands with a cel-shaded Saturday morning cartoon art style. It's fast, colorful, surprisingly deep, and way better than it has any right to be. What makes Gunfire so different from other rogue first-person shooters is its focus on the heroes. Each hero plays distinctly different from one another. No two runs with a different hero will feel the same. You pick from a roster of anthropomorphic animal heroes, each with their own abilities and playstyles. There's a cat that can stop time, a turtle that runs around punching enemies faster than Goku, a firefox that can nuke an entire room in one shot, and so on. It's adorable chaos. And to help with the run variety, there's also random weapons, scrolls, and abilities that stack in absurd ways. Combat is fast-paced and satisfying. Think snappy gunplay, chunky feedback, and a lot of dodging. You'll mow through enemies, pick up loot, level up your hero mid-run, and hope RNG blesses you with that perfect combo of elemental weapons and passive buffs. Do not let the cartoony look and animal characters turn you away. Gunfire Reborn is a sleeper hit, easy to pick up, hard to put down, and surprisingly rich in variety and challenge. If you like roguelites, co-op shooters, or games where you can stack 12 buffs and turn your tiger into a lightning god, this one's a must-buy. This is still easily my favorite strategy role-playing game, and I will keep bringing it up in hopes that more devs make games like this. Marvel's Midnight Suns is what happens when the team behind XCOM makes a Marvel game, but instead of permadeath and panic, you get friendship bracelets and card combos. It sounds weird, but it actually works.
You shouldn't have hurt me.
Just be careful you do not string together the wrong phrase.
You play as the Hunter, a customizable original hero who's been resurrected to help stop Lilith, your demonic mother. You team up with a mix of heroes: Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Hulk, and yes, they're all dramatically brooding in a giant gothic mansion like it's superhero Hogwarts. The combat is turn-based and card-driven. Each hero brings their own deck of ability cards into battle, and every turn is about playing the best combos based on what you draw. There's no grid movement like in most SRPGs, instead positioning and environmental effects matter. You can kick enemies into explosives, shove them off cliffs, or toss dumpsters with style. It feels dynamic, punchy, and way more fluid than you'd expect from a card system. The card-based combat is surprisingly strategic, with tons of variety in team setups and deck builds. If you are like me and are not a Marvel fan, that's okay. The last superhero movie I saw was the first Iron Man in theaters. I only knew about 4 of the characters in this game, so do not let that turn you away. You do not need to be a fan of superheroes to enjoy this hit. Midnight Suns is a smart strategic game easily netting you over 100 hours. If you're into turn-based tactics or deck builders, this is a great pick, and it's a massive value at $9. Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise is a full-on action RPG developed by Team Ninja. Combat is fast, combo-driven, and very unforgiving if you try to button mash your way through it. You play as Jack, a man who is very serious about destroying chaos. He and his friends are on a mission to restore the light of the crystals in what's essentially a strange reimagining of the original Final Fantasy. Combat is real-time, fast, and meaty. Dodges, parries, counters, everything has weight. On a scale of Dark Souls to Devil May Cry, this leans a bit more in the Devil May Cry spectrum. The job system is deep. You can switch between 2 jobs on the fly, like mixing a mage and a dragoon, or a thief and a warrior, and each one plays differently. Bosses are intense, with flashy moves and mechanics that keep you on your toes, and being able to perform finishers on your enemies a la Doom Guy never gets old. The game is mission-based rather than open world, but one of my favorite aspects is that each level is a remake of a dungeon from another entry in the Final Fantasy franchise. I do not want to spoil any of the actual levels, so just imagine if in one mission you went to the Opera House in Final Fantasy VI, and then in the very next mission you went to Trino from Final Fantasy IX. It is always exciting to see which location you will go to next. Strangers of Paradise is messy, loud, and kind of brilliant if you meet it on its own level. It's a Final Fantasy game that's more about combos and crystals than coherence, and that's part of the fun. If you like action-heavy RPGs and don't mind a little chaos, it's absolutely worth picking up on sale. If you plan to pick up any of these deals, let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to see some other games I'd recommend, you can check out my other sale videos.